All right, I am just only 2 minutes late. It is 8:37 and welcome to day 10 of my 50 days of Facebook Live. We just had an amazing mentorship group this evening and got some new students who've joined just started up with me in the new year. A couple new students began in December and I'm just loving the fresh energy and just the hunger. And so we just have so much fun just growing in the prophetic. And I love teaching people about the prophetic and getting them activated because, as much as I love to prophesy and I serve with the gift of prophecy, it's really my heart to be an equipper and to, really take the things that God has put on the inside of me and all the tips and tricks and things that I've learned over the years in my prophetic development and to be able to pass them on to my students. Hello, Gloria Narija. Good to see you. All right. So I'm going to I want to do a little bit of a story time here for a second, because if you were in my mentorship group, you just heard this. But, so I love, teaching my students about the prophetic, and it's all about hearing the voice of God. And so I love sharing testimonies of different ways that God speaks to me. And, because sometimes God speaks and it is just so clear. Sometimes he speaks and it's just so clear that you can't deny it. And, often, I'll hear people say oh, they've had these testimonies of hearing the audible voice of God. And, I personally I'm not aware of any time in my life where I've actually heard the audible voice of God. But there are some times where God speaks in such incredible ways and it's so clear. And lately, so I want to actually share just a couple testimonies, 3 examples of how God has spoken to me in this last year in ways that were just profoundly, so clear and they were directive for me. Hello, Tracy Lambert and Jean, Angela Hollema, Denise Rios, and Chris Sheard. Hello, hello. Okay, so 3 quick little testimonies. Okay, so because the prophetic is all about intimacy with God, intimacy with Jesus, learning the different ways that he speaks to you. And so I like to think, sometimes this is what I think about myself. I think that I like to obey the voice of God, and it is my heart to obey God. But sometimes there's that wrestle where it's but is God really saying that? Is it really clear, or I'm not really sure, or I feel I should do something or shouldn't do something. And sometimes we get confused because sometimes we think God is speaking, but it's really because we just want that thing to happen. And so really it's the idol in our heart that's leading us, and maybe we're mishearing, but so sometimes there is this wrestle, and I very much have moments of wrestle, but thankfully the moments of clarity are becoming more and more. Okay, so testimony number 1. Okay, there's 3 little stories and they're short and amazing. Okay, so last spring, I went to the Canadian Prophetic Summit, which was in Calgary, Alberta. I was invited by an emerging prophet friend, Theora, and she's one of my intercessors, amazing woman. So she invited me. The conference was in April, so a couple months before. She invited me, and so I was thinking about it. I was oh, should I go? Should I go to Calgary? I got to book time off work. I got to buy a plane ticket, pay for a hotel, get a rental car. And I was just it's a lot. And so I was kind of thinking, I never flown out to Calgary, and I was thinking, it's a little uncomfortable and I'm probably not going to go, because I tend to, sometimes I like to just do, what seems easier. So anyway, I was really, feeling not that I probably wasn't going to go. But one day I'm sitting at work and I'm pondering oh, should I go? Work at the ultrasound clinic. I'm should I go? Should I not? And I was looking at flights on my laptop and just seeing, looking at flights and hotels and such. Then I had a patient arrive, so I did the ultrasound on the patient, and it was a little boy, and he was 4 years old. And I did his ultrasound. And as I had just been pondering all these thoughts. Should I go to Calgary? Should I not go to Calgary? The keynote speaker at the Calgary conference was Cindy Jacobs. That's a very important piece of information. So should I go? Should I not go? I do the ultrasound on this little boy. When I finish the ultrasound, he gets up, and before he leaves the room with his mom, he walks towards me with his arms open, and he comes like he wants a hug, and he comes over and I give him a big hug. I was like, oh, that was so sweet. Like, people don't usually give me hugs in my workplace. And then he turned and he left with his mom, and I looked, his name, his first initial was C. His last name was Jacobs. So I had a patient named C. Jacobs sent to me as I'm sitting pondering whether or not I should go to the Cindy Jacobs conference. And I was like, all right, God, I think we're onto something here, and so I ended up going. So I took that as my sign, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go to the conference. So another thing, so something like that happened again just before Christmas on December 23rd. So I'm walking into work, and my mind is on my doTERRA business, because God has been talking to me about, this is the time to cast my net again. It's time, doTERRA is a legacy company. It's time to build again, to go again. And so I'm thinking these things. And as I walk into work, I'm thinking like, oh, I guess I'm probably going to be maybe I'm going to be going to convention again this year, which is in Salt Lake City. So I'm just having these thoughts. And I'm like, oh, I wonder about convention. I should probably look and see when they're selling convention tickets. I go in, I'm going through my morning, I do an ultrasound on a girl who's pregnant, 20 weeks pregnant, and it's the stage where we can tell them the gender. So I let my patient know at the end of the exam when I bring her husband, I'm like, oh, congratulations, you're having a boy. And they were so excited. And she says to me, we're going to name him Utah. We said that if we had a baby boy, his name would be Utah. And I had just been pondering, oh, I think I might be going to convention. And so I'm like, seriously, God? I mean, nobody has never even heard that as a name before. And it was right within hours of me pondering this with the Lord. Okay, so that's pretty cool. That was 2 days before Christmas. And then on Friday this week, so back up before Friday, I'm part of a Prophet's Nest with Christine Schieber is the leader. She's with Emerging Prophets and a Global Prophetic Alliance. And so she leads this group, and she was telling us in the group just that, there is this conference happening in New Jersey. Emma Stark and some of her team are going to be there. She's going to be there. And she was just encouraging us hey, because our Prophet's Nest are prophets from all over the nations, around the world, and from Australia to South Africa, Europe, Canada, Peru, the USA, everywhere. So she was saying, hey, if you can get there, let's, be really nice to meet in person. And so I was kind of thinking about it. I was like, it's only a few weeks away. It's not really a lot of notice. I'm already booked to work. I actually picked up an extra shift at the clinic on the day that the conference starts. And it's not really convenient. I'd have to I'd either have to drive or pay for it, So I'm just it's a lot. It's a lot of expense and taking time off work. So I'm I probably shouldn't do it, save my money. And so I'm, thinking about this. So I'm at work on Friday, and it was my last patient before lunch, another lovely pregnant girl, 20 weeks pregnant. And I love this stage because it's when I get to tell people the gender of their baby, which I love doing. So before so prophets notice patterns, and they notice how God speaks in repetition. And so I'm always noticing numbers and names and coincidences and patterns. So this patient who came in, I noticed, so I have 4 sisters. Her first name, which I won't say, but was the name of one of my sisters. The month that she was born was the birth month of one sister. The day of the month she was born was the day of another sister. And then the year was the birth year of my other sister. So I was like, this is really interesting. She's got the same name as my sister and her birthday matches my other 3 sisters. And I was like, oh, this is just so interesting. So I do the ultrasound on her, and I tell her she's having a little girl as I'm scanning, and she's like really excited. And even though she's having a girl, I feel to ask her a question. And what I ask her is, if you were gonna have a boy, if I had told you it was a boy, what would you have named your son? And she says to me, his name was going to be Jersey. Jersey. At the exact time where I'm contemplating whether or not I'm supposed to go on this trip to New Jersey, whether it makes sense to me, and so I just had to share, I had to share that, and I had to wait until today because I officially got my time off work approved so that now I can plan my trip and I can go. So it'll just be like a long weekend. But it's just like, God is so kind. He's so kind. And sometimes I used to just have so much fear of missing it, because you really seek God, you really want his best for your life, you really want to know his will. And, my heart, like I was saying, my heart is that, if I know what God wants me to do, I want to do it. And there's things in my life, it's like, okay, God, I don't know if it's going this way or this way, but it's but if I knew, if you would just tell me, then I will, obey and follow, and so this is the heart, but sometimes the challenge is in the clarity and in the knowing whether or not we can hear the voice of God, or are we hearing him, or are we hearing our own desires, our own, wants, or are we just going with what is comfortable? I could have not gone to Calgary and not planned this trip to New Jersey. I mean, Utah is still months out, and that's going to cost me several $1,000s, so these are things that are costly, but it's so we can take the easy, comfortable, and add up the numbers in the bank account, and I don't earn enough money or whatever, and we can reason ourselves out of these things. But when God speaks and he makes it this clear, that's when it's there's the faith that goes with it. And so how dare we say no when God is showing us, and I'm not a conference junkie in this season of my life. I'm not running around everywhere just needing to go to all the meetings and conferences. I'm trying to be really intentional about where God is having me. And so I just love it. I loved, and he will speak. And so I guess my encouragement is just keep going after it. Keep going after God, keep going after, just paying attention. And it's pay attention, because God speaks. And, the more we pay attention, the more we listen in, the more we steward revelation, the more we position ourselves to hear from him, the more loudly he's going to speak, and the more clear, his leading is going to be. And so just, stir up. It's we just stir up the gifts that are on the inside of us, and it says those who hunger and thirst for righteousness will be filled. And so it's and the Bible even talks about earnestly desire the gifts, especially prophecy, earnestly desire and want and hunger, because those who hunger and thirst for righteousness will be filled. Yeah. And so I just feel this invitation, and it just I had to share those little stories because it just makes me excited, and it whets my appetite. And it's what, for me to just take a couple days off work and, drive to another country and, invest money and stuff like that. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make logical sense. It doesn't make additional, when you add up the numbers and everything, it just doesn't make sense. But God, and he's wanting to bring us also to this place of living in the economics of the kingdom, and so I'm not going to go, and I'm not going to penny pinch and be worried about every dollar that I spend. I am going to drive instead of flying because, I can save money. Then I won't have to rent a car and fly. But it's it's this place of of abundance, in this place of okay, he's called me to it. He's going to bring the provision. He's called me to it. He's going to make the way, and just, I've the widow with the oils, I feel this has been a time of gathering gathering my vessels to be able to hold the oil, to be able to hold what he's pouring out, because there is provision and there's provision and there's oil of intimacy. And I just feel this like, yeah, just this real like excitement for the season. And so God wants to change the economics of your life. He does. I really feel this is a thing for the season. He wants to change the economics of your life. And there's a parable. Just got to get a little more comfortable here. There's a parable in the Bible, that talks about economics, and it's the parable of the talents. One was given one person was given 5, and one person was given 10. And so don't just say oh, this person was given 10. They have more than me in there. It's all about the stewardship. It's about the faithfulness in the small beginnings. It's about what do we do with what God has given us? Because when we steward what he's given us, then he can trust us and he can put more in, because he knows that we're going to multiply and we're going to increase. It's about ever increasing abundance. Yeah. Pushing off lack and poverty and believing that, you have access to a God who is just so kind and so generous. And when you ask for bread, he will not give you a stone. And that he will give you ideas and strategies. And I feel like, there's somebody who's going to watch this, maybe a couple somebodies, and you still feel like you're grasping for ideas and visions, and you don't know what is your vessel. You don't know what is your, how to get the wealth in. You don't know what is your stream. And you're in this place of okay, God, but I feel like there are some where the God ideas have actually already come, but we've discounted them. Sometimes the God ideas come in the form of your own spontaneous thoughts, but sometimes the God ideas will come by an invitation from someone else, someone asking you, hey, you want to go on this venture with me? Hey, you want to step into this? Hey, do you want, And so it's, sometimes we discount. And, when God gets so used to us saying no to him all the time, sometimes he gets quiet. Yeah. But so I just really feel there's such a needfulness of posturing ourselves in this season to receive. Posturing to receive. Receive. It's the oil. I talked about the oil and the widow, for the supernatural debt cancellation, the widow had to go and grab vessels and jars from all her neighbors and all over. She had to bring in the vessel. She had to prepare a room. She had to position herself to receive what God was going to pour out. She had to position herself so that she had something to contain the supernatural provision that was about to be released. If she did not prepare and gather the vessels, she would not have been a recipient to the miracle. And so, I actually feel like there are people, you need to be starting businesses. You need to be stepping out. You need to be going after it and taking the initiative and stepping across the chicken line and doing the very thing that you've been telling yourself, oh, I'm not that kind of person. To overcome. To step out. He wants to shift your mindset, of who you are, what you're capable of. And there's this invitation in this season. Humility is so needed in this season, guys. We really need to be so postured low, because some of us is actually, the pride that we have in our accomplishments and the pride insecurity that we have in the things that we know how to do and we know how to do well. And some of those are either old wineskin or old era ways of doing things and strategies of moving forward. And God has new ways to get the results that you're looking for. And so it's humility and coming and being willing to lay down our expertise and being willing to lay down, our education, all these things, and just say, okay, God, I will come to you as a child. I will begin again. I will start. I will be an amateur in the new. I'll be the kindergarten. I will like go in, come in at the bottom. Some of you guys do not think that you're called to be an entrepreneur. And I just want to say, if you are a kingdom kid, we need to get an entrepreneurial mindset. I really do believe that everybody should have their own business. This is one of the ways. And we live in a world where there is so much shift and change and so many ways and so many different so many different things in technology and just in the word is on the tip of my tongue, but different developments and things that we can do, like, how, like, everybody should be able to do something working from home. How do you serve people? How do you bring the kingdom? Who are your people? What is your message? What are you all about? What has God put on the inside of you? Yeah, this is a season for discovery. This is a season for discovery. And Jean, you got prophesied over the last 2 nights, but I feel like I'm supposed to prophesy over you again. Because I really believe that this is for you, Jean, that this is a time, this is such a time of release for you. And it's like you have such a high level of revelation already, and God is about to bring even another load. Like I just see like another load, because you're someone who's really, you have stewarded your spiritual gifts and talents. And I actually see God giving you some practical ways so that you can step into a different level of stewardship, even in the natural, so that he can bring provision into you and really bring you into a place of abundance, and a place of, I just hear this thing of reaping where you have not sown. Because you have been one who has sown in secret. You've been one who's sown faithfully, and you've sown even in tears. And I see where you have sown and you've given up the thing that even, you felt like you needed for your own sustenance and your own provision, but where you took that, and I just see your sacrificial giving, where you have given to a place where it hurt, into a place where it has cost you. And I just see the Lord like collecting every tear in bottles, and I just see him like actually like watering, like it's like he's collected them and he's actually watering, the seed. I see him watering seed, even seed that you've not planted. I just hear this thing of you being able to, I see you finding the right people and partnerships to align yourself with in this season, and God is going to allow you to benefit from and taste of the fruit of their labors. There's something about community connection and teamwork for you in this season, because God says you have already done so much work and you've poured yourself out, and now you actually get to come and it's like you get to benefit from I just see a benefiting from the overflow of those that God is going to align you with. And so it's, I don't know, I see some like very beautiful symbiotic relationships in your life, where God is going to bring some partnerships for you that are totally different, but mutually beneficial, where it's like you give just as much as you can, and they give to you very generously, but you're different and you bring different things from the table. And I just see this ability for you to really walk with people who are different, and to really I see like these partnerships where you really be able to honor each other and honor their differences, and to benefit from each other, because it's like, it's really that heart to lift up and to promote, and not to, it's that settledness that you have as a daughter, because, orphan-minded thinking thinks like, competition in that, but it's not competition. It's this like, this moving together and, linking arm in arms, and just like really championing. You're really a champion of those who are around you. And I see God is going to bring those who are going to champion you in this season so that you can step in. So bless you. Bless you, Jean. You are a gift. Yeah. This is a turnaround time for you. All right. I want to say hello to a bunch of you guys. Hello, Asher, David, Josie Lavoy, Denise Rios, Jonathan Hansel, Wanda Smith, Bonnie Perrin, Dwayne Clugston, John Doyle, good to see you guys. Kim Gold, thanks so much for tuning in. Kim Gold. Kim, you are highlighted. Yeah, Kim. Yeah. Yeah, I see some of the dynamics of your life really shifting in this season, and I just see it's like from pauper to princess. And I just see like this time of you really like there's something about your royal identity in this season and just the ways of royalty. And there, that's something that God is like really establishing. He's already started establishing in you, but he's going to continue, in this next year. And it's just like you really understanding and walking in, like I just see you walking in this place with your, just your head so held high and in this place of like regalness. And I see like, it's like your message, it's like your heart's cry is like, and your message to those, because many people are going to look up to you and look for vision, and your heart's cry and what you're going to say to them is like, if I can do it, anyone can do it. If I can do it, anyone can do it. And I just see you having this powerful testimony that people are going to watch and they're going to see and they're going to be so inspired. And it's like, that it's like that rags to riches kind of thing. And it's like beauty from ashes. And I just see like you rising, you have risen up already out of the ashes and out of the dust, and you have dusted yourself off. That was the past season. But you have now the crown. He is putting the crown on your head. And this is a new season of you really learning and just discovering the beautiful ways of royalty and all the benefits that you get of being his daughter. And it's like, I see him even taking you through, I can see you like through like etiquette training. Like I'm seeing you like with the china teacup, and trying to like with your finger up in the air. Like I'm seeing this level of like training, and I just see it's just upgrade, upgrade, upgrade. And it's like, but you have such a mama's heart. And I just see that, real heart cry that you have where, even as Jesus looked out over Jerusalem and he just said, oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how I long to gather you. As a hen gathers its chicks, it's like, Kim, I can see that, like you have that heart's cry, even just in your region. Like I can see your heart where you're just like, oh, people, of this town, of this area, like, oh, how I just long to gather you, how I long to bring you in. And it's that heart, it's like the mother heart of God that you carry, and just that longing to bring them in. And I just see like God being able to use you to bring many prodigals home, because even though he's teaching you the supernatural ways of royalty, and it's devoid of religion. And so I just see you being able to connect, because you're such a real, raw authenticity, and you being able to connect with people who have felt so pushed outside and turned away from, from the religious system. And so I just see you really being able to connect in, because you know what, God's heart is for those, and you really have this like evangelistic kind of pull that is just so beautiful. So I bless you, Kim. Hold your head up high. You've got that crown on your head, and it's like you're just moving forward and walking in a different way with a different level of respect. And even some of your appetites you're going to notice some of your appetites are just changed in this season. There are things that you would have liked to have, done or tasted in a last season, and you just don't even want them anymore. And it's not that it was even like wrong or necessarily, but it's just like, it's like when you get your palate gets adjusted to the finer delicacies of life. It's like, I see this like adjustment that has happened for you. And so you just don't even want the stuff of yesterday, but you are just, it's that, that higher level. So yeah, I bless you. It's like, it's like no more McDonald's once you go to the 5-star restaurant. That's kind of how it is. Yeah, no more McDonald's. Let's make that a decree for all of us, for me too, this year. All right. Not that I'm a McDonald's person, but I want to say no more fast food. Oh, awesome. So good. Glad that was an encouragement. Is Janelle still on here? Janelle Sutherland. I think I saw you drop a couple hearts in a little bit there. Janelle, well, if you're not here, I can tag you. But Janelle, yeah. Yeah, Janelle, you're in such a Esther 4:14 season. And I know a lot of us, we resonate with that. But Janelle, for such a time as this, you have been called and you have been in a long season of preparation where God has been washing and soaking and saturating and perfuming. And you have been I see you in this place of patient preparation. Patient, it's sometimes tearful, but patient preparation. And I just see such a season of reward for you. And I just see like where you have, God has allowed you to marinate a little bit longer than the average person. He has, caused you to soak. He has put this like, it goes back to like, it's the royalty thing. It's like the preparation that is required for you is at such a higher level because the level of the calling that God has on your life and the level of impact, it is like required you to get a really strong foundation, and God has worked out. He has really strengthened your foundations, and he has solidified some very important identity pieces in your life in these last 3-4 years, where he has transformed the way that you think about yourself and way that you think about what is possible for you. And I just see that the lid of limitation has been lifted off of you. And I hear God saying, Janelle, the sky is the limits. The sky is the limits, and he's going to take you to high places. And I see that there is a favor that is on you. And it's like because you so have saturated yourself in his presence, and you've been so long in this place of like preparing and just soaking, and you're really carrying the fragrance of Christ wherever you go. And so you just saturate wherever you go, you just saturate. But I just see an unusual favor that is on you, and it's this spirit of favor that rests upon you, Janelle. And no matter what you do, you are going to find unusual doors of favor that will open for you in every single sphere and direction. And it's almost like I can see your physical beauty opening doors for you. And just because you're such a beautiful person, but it's like, just like Esther's physical beauty opened her door to get entrance with the king. And it's like, it's like the beauty that brings you before certain people, but then they don't even understand that the beauty that's on the inside is so much greater. And God is going to put that sharp sword in your hand, and he's going to give you words to release to influential people. And I see you being able to shift the course and direction and really be able to, I see you actually calling some people to account, like people who are going to bring you in nice and close. Like you are called to be a leader to a level of like a higher level of influence. And so there will be those who will, will allow you in close and will listen to what you have to say. And to the point where, eventually you're going to be able to even consult and to, give those it's like those God ideas, those God downloads, those gods. It's the calling things into alignment with kingdom. It's not even all like Christian, but I even see you having some favor in some non-Christian circles. And in that, being able to bring in, because everything you do and say, it's all kingdom, and you walk in it. And so you're going to take the atmosphere, because your atmosphere is so it's so pungent, it's so fragrant, that you're just going to shift, even in some non-Christian places, in organizations. It's like, because the favor of God and the blessing is on you. So wherever you go, I just see prosperity, like wherever you go. And it's kind of like how Joseph, no matter whether he was in the prison or in the palace, God blessed and prospered even, the prison or the Potiphar, because Joseph's presence was there. So I see this level of favor that's sitting on your life, and and there is a level of unlocking of your voice that is still yet to come. there is a level of unlocking of your voice that is still yet to come. And I can feel the vibrations in the spirit. And it's like the word of God is so inside of you. And it has been so, it's so foundational to you. And it's been so shut up on the inside of you. And it's almost like part of the preparation was almost like it was almost like a time of, it's almost like the not speaking. You know, some of us get like a stronghold of silence, but I don't see that with you. I see it more as almost like a test of quietness and a test of of restraint and of self-control and of just being like, you've been harnessed for a season to like learn the ways that God would have you walk in, because he's going to release you. And that wildness of the stallion, that wildness of the horse that carries the power of God, and that wildness is that wildness of the war horse. It's like God has been training you, and he's put all these good foundations, because you are going to run and you're going to go fast and you're going to go far. And it's just going to like, you're just so aligned with the kingdom that there's no veering, like there's no veering to the right or the left. But it's like, I can see like it's almost like I feel like a vibration that's starting on the depths of your spirit. And it's something that, you know, God has been getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and you're not going to be able to hold it back. And you're going to start to realize that God is giving you higher and higher levels of insight and revelation that are meant to be shared with other people. And you're someone who is so relationally safe, and you have passed the test of like humility and honor. And, you know, I just see you like really someone who walks in love at such a level that you've covered over some things. You know, God's actually, he's allowed you to see some things. He's allowed you to see some glitches, and to see like some glitches in some people and organizations, and where things are just like really off and not right. And he's allowed you to see it. And it's like, instead of like, you know, exposing it, you were like, you know, like Noah's son that actually took the blanket and covered over. So I see this, like you have this love that covers over, and it's like there's some tests that you've passed because you haven't gone and repeated a matter, and you've just like pondered these things in your heart with God, and actually put yourself in the place of intercession to see the breakthrough. And yeah, so I just bless you. I bless you. Yeah. I see fire coming out of your mouth, Janelle. So much fire. Like there is like a fiery prophetic anointing on the inside of you. And it's like, because you've allowed him to purify your mouth with the coals from his altar. And so he has purified you. And so he can allow you to release the fire in full force and full purity, knowing that you will only direct it in the direction in which he gives you permission. You won't like, you know, it talks about the character of Jesus and how it says he wouldn't even like injure a bruised reed or a broken or a smoking flax, whatever. You're like that, like, you know, excuse me, you have that understanding to know like, okay, where, yeah. So I just bless you to be all in the fullness of who God has called you to be, to rise up, Janelle, as the prophetic warrior who has fire in her bones and breathes fire out of her mouth, and is an influencer of influencers, and is a resource and a strategist and a solutionary in this generation. Yeah. God's going to bless your socks off in the next 5 years. Your life is going to be so radically transformed beyond your wildest imaginations. You won't even recognize yourself. Yeah. It's going to be awesome. All right, guys, I'm noticing the tickle in my throat, and I think it's my sign. It's about time to wrap this up. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Thank you so much for tracking with me. I'm just really enjoying this. Today's only day 10. Got 40 more days of prophecy. But, you know, I just love it. Like there's a grace on it. And I really feel like God was saying, you know, this was a year of rest. It's a year of rest. And it's a year of action from rest. And so just being able to posture ourselves in this place of like settledness and rest And I just love this because, you know, to a lot of you, 50 days of live might seem overwhelming and seem like a big thing, but it's like when it's divine strategy, something God's asked you to do and to serve in that way, and he fuels it, and there's just so much grace on it. So step out into the things that God is calling you to do in this season. And just one last shout out before I sign off for tonight. Still doing prophetic consultations at a discounted rate for the month of January. So I've had a few new clients. I've got some booked to the rest of the week, but my discounted rate is $75 an hour instead of the regular $100 an hour to meet with me and consult. If there's an area that you like some prophetic insight, need some breakthrough, feel stuck, or just need to get your relationship with God refueled, rekindled, and ignited. All right, guys, love you guys so much. Have a good night, and I'll be back tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day.